Greetings. Thank you for joining us at Marv, Make a Racist Famous. Today we're going to be focusing on a video that has to do with the racism that affects our children, the children that are taught to be racist from an early age, and how they allow that behavior to manifest in their childhood. So today we are going to be taking a peek at the story of John Sheeran. John Sheeran is a 14-year-old who is on trial for attempting to murder a 15-year-old black boy. This is taking place in Chatham. What I found to be, I can't even say shocking, but what I found to be somewhat suspect was that they released this boy to the custody of his father. Where do you think he's learning his behavior? Why would you allow him to go home? He should have been locked up for the duration of his trial. But that's neither here nor there. He was allowed to go home and wear an anklet or an ankle bracelet in order for him to not become a flight risk, I'm assuming. Also about this story, not only did he attempt to drown a 15-year-old black boy, but he also ended up punching an Asian child. All of this based on race. Now, the thing is that he texts the 15-year-old black boy to meet him at the pond under the guise of being friends. And then when the 15-year-old black boy arrived, they threw rocks at him. You know, that scenario where, oh, we're just playing, we're just kidding. It's not just playing, it's not just kidding. Please teach your children discernment when it comes to friends and whether or not they're truly friends, or if there's someone that's pretending to be a friend so that they can hurt them. After the young man arrived, what he ended up doing was asking him to get into the water. And he didn't feel comfortable getting in the water, so he had a life jacket. Do you know that this 14-year-old John Sheeran decided to pull him under the water? They said approximately 4 to 5 times. So you already know that he's afraid of water because he said to you that he is, and he's wearing a life jacket. That would indicate that person doesn't want to go under. They're proactively being safe. And you do it anyway. And then while he is dunking him under the water those 4 or 5 times, he's calling him the N-word, as well as the other child who's with him is calling him George Floyd. So they have enough sense to know what they're attempting to do, because George Floyd died from his injuries that were inflicted by a Caucasian police officer ignoring his cries for him to breathe. So this boy is screaming while they're dumping him under the water. I'm of course never blown away by any of this anymore, because most of these stories are just wash repeats of other things that are happening everywhere else. When you watch this video, it's mostly the news giving the rundown of what's occurring or what has occurred with this young man's hearing and his story of what's happening next. you know, I wonder when people have children if they honestly believe that their ideologies are what they should be teaching them. If they're supposed to continue to be a carbon copy of your disillusioned soul. Like, that's what I believe, that people who are racist have disillusioned souls to believe that other people of different races or colors are not as good as them. It's delusional on so many levels. It's such a huge, huge delusional aspect they must have. All right, let me stop talking. Here's the video.
14-year-old boy accused of trying to drown a black youth in a racist attack in a pond on Cape Cod has been released to the custody of his father. At a court appearance earlier this week, John Sheeran was released pending trial. The judge ordered conditions including GPS monitoring, staying with his father, reporting to probation regularly, and staying away from potential witnesses in the case. Sheeran was indicted on charges of attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon earlier this month. This morning, a white 14-year-old boy accused of trying to drown a black youth in a racist attack in a pond on Cape Cod has been released to the custody of his father. At a court appearance earlier this week, John Sheeran was released pending trial. The judge ordered conditions including GPS monitoring, staying with his father, reporting to probation regularly, and staying away from potential witnesses in the case. Sheeran was indicted on charges of attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon earlier this month.
So I wasn't aware that he had a weapon. That's not been shared in other news sources that I've read up on this story for. And I find that to be quite interesting because I wonder if that is the assault on the Asian child, if that was with a weapon or not. So back to teaching children discernment. Please teach them, you know, when their gut is telling them that someone is not truly their friend, when their friend is more physical with them than they should be. Actually, I have a personal tie to this sort of situation. My son was friends with someone who was a different race, and he was constantly being abused by this child. And I had had my suspicions, but I try not to assign the work that I do here in my personal life because I do use discernment very heavily when it comes to my family and the people that I love and who it is I choose to bring around them or allow in our sanctuary of our home. So, you know, this is a child that I had somewhat a rapport with his mother, and, you know, just something seemed off towards the latter part of their friendship, which ended maybe a couple years ago. So this is 2024, so around the end of 2021. I caught this child hitting my son with a stick, like a long skinny stick that resembles a whip, which was not a good thing. I also witnessed this child hitting my son very hardly and on his back, and he was the only one that was being hit. So I don't know, it just says a lot to me for parents to pay more attention to who their children's friends are and whether or not those children that they are friends with are being taught racist behaviors and racist rhetoric and hateful thought processes when it comes to dealing with people of a different race. It is extremely imperative. So I've already shared the story of 8-year-old Noah Bush, who was killed by a 10 and 12-year-old, or a 10 and 11-year-old. Can't remember for sure. But these types of things are easily avoidable if our children have boundaries, and if they say no, and if they let someone show them who they truly are when those boundaries are enacted. We as adults, we try to protect them from, a lot of this, but we aren't with them at school. We aren't with them on the field. We aren't with them at the park, or, well, maybe we are, but we aren't a part of all of the conversations that they have with other children. They have to be able to stand up for themselves and to speak up for themselves, as well as share with you their experiences. And then when you're witnessing something and you're noticing that your child is not speaking up for themselves, y'all, I don't have to tell you, if you see something, say something, because that should be the absolute see something, say something, where you actually see something and then you say something, because our kids deserve to be protected by us at all times. So if you are here, again, thank you for joining us. If you are interested in being a part of this tribe, feel free to subscribe. Also, follow us on Instagram, join our Facebook group. It's been a while since I've done anything on Clubhouse, but I may host another call. Oh my goodness, I don't even know if anyone still gets on that platform. However, the conversations need to be had. This sort of situation, let's do all that we can to ensure that it's none of our children. All right, take care.